This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Calls for increasing Australian Federal Police presence at Hobart Airport have been shut down, with claims Tasmania isn't at high risk of terrorism. Malcolm Turnbull says there is already an increased security presence.
The threat assessment in respect of Hobart had been some years ago and had remained the same, that it did not warrant AFP at the airport from a threat point of view.
Premier Will Hodgman says his government is committed to keeping Tasmanians safe and is pushing for AFP to restaff the airport. Tasmania's Hospitality Association and Federal Group have struck a deal for a new way forward in Tasmania's gaming market. The proposal would see the state's poker machine monopoly scrapped, with increased revenue for pubs and clubs. But the new partnership has drawn a raft of criticism.
Presenting a new option for Tasmania's gaming market, Federal Group teaming up with the hospitality sector on a new model for poker machines.
I believe that we're putting forward today is a model that will ensure that gaming achieves the right balance for the community and the government.
Under the arrangement, Federal Group would lose its monopoly in 2023, while retaining its licences for Rest Point and the Country Club, also keeping its statewide Keno licence to be the sole monitoring service for poker machines, responsible for compliance and tax collection. An agreement ensuring the increase in revenue for pubs and clubs through direct gaming machine ownership.
It's a good outcome for venues. They'd go from a 30% revenue sharing to about a 50%.
But with increased revenue for venues and a promise to keep the tax rate for government, Federal Group says it would take a hit of $15 million annually to be recovered in one of two ways, including a suggested casino tax break.
One would be through the reduction in the tax rates in the casinos, and the other would be through its share of the network revenue through network gaming.
This is a significant change in the arrangements to gaming if it were to be implemented, but it does provide sufficient certainty for Federal Group to continue to be a major player.
It's a proposed ongoing licence, preventing the option of a tender.
This is another proposal that presents us with industry-focused policy. What we need is people-focused policy when it comes to pokies, because they're harmful.
This cabal of self-interest is not allowing the sale of the monopoly to be tendered. So the state is once again being asked to sacrifice a monumental amount of revenue.
The committee is due to release its report by the end of next month, with calls for the major parties to present their policy for a public vote.
This election, Tasmanians should be able to be fully informed about the positions of all parties.
There will be no deals whatsoever struck before the election.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
The extension of the Tasmanian Regional Forestry Agreement for a further 2 decades has been met with fury. Environmentalists enraged by the Prime Minister's touting of the move as a great day for the industry, labelling it a death warrant for some of Tasmania's most vulnerable species.
Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull arriving at a Launceston timber yard today all smiles. After touring the facility, he and Premier Will Hodgman sat down to sign off on the state's forestry agreement for the next 20 years.
It's been very well negotiated between our officials, who we congratulated earlier. And what it does, it's exactly right. It gets the balance right to ensure that all of your environmental values are protected, but also that you maintain a sustainable forest industry.
The 20-year RFA between the state and federal government will allow logging of native forests on public land and provide an exemption to Commonwealth environment laws. But it was the PM's claims over the protection of endangered species which had environmentalists reeling.
Now that is a studied lie. It's entirely wrong. And if the Prime Minister can't get that central fact right, he doesn't deserve to have a claim on anything to do with the environment in Australia.
This demonstrates there's a level of delusion when it comes to government and their forest policy, and I think the signing of a regional forest agreement that locks in many of the same problems that we've seen with the past regional forest agreement actually is a case in point.
Those on tour with the PM for today's announcement were quick to defend it.
The revised agreement is taking a much more proactive approach in relation to how we deal with endangered and threatened species. And according to the Threatened Species Commissioner, Gregory Andrew, there has been no Australian species made endangered or extinct by the actions of forestry.
The RFA is set to provide security for the state's timber industry, which currently employs more than 3,600 workers.
We've turned around an industry that was on its knees. Its export values have increased. The levels of confidence in Tasmania's forest industry have increased, and this is a great example of a Tasmanian business that is now looking to the future to invest more and to employ more Tasmanians.
Jessie Gilmore, Southern Cross News.
A Launceston man accused of kidnapping and assault has told a Supreme Court jury he was helping the alleged victim find drugs and money and hadn't taken him against his will. Kane Richardson took to the stand today as the third week of the trial wrapped up. Our reporter Monika Dadson has more from court.
Kane Richardson is one of 6 people accused of kidnapping and assaulting Victorian man Anthony McHale over 3 days in February 2015. Taking to the stand today, Richardson told the court he'd received a phone call from McHale the day before he was allegedly kidnapped, asking to meet at a Launceston hotel. He asked if I wanted to get on board with a good earn, Richardson said. He agreed and says the following night, the first day of the alleged kidnapping, he, co-accused Malcolm Main and McHale travelled together to Port Sorell. There, Richardson claims the trio used steel rods to prod the ground, looking for buried containers containing drugs, money and guns. Richardson said McHale was desperate for cash as he owed 3 Lebanese men money and believed they would find some buried in the northwest. And if they did, the trio would split it 3 ways. But the prosecutors argued that's not what happened. They suggested Richardson did go to Port Sorell, but instead took McHale there as a hostage, shot at him multiple times and also assaulted him. Richardson denied the Crown's claims. Richardson was the last witness to give evidence during the trial. Closing addresses will now begin on Monday, with the jury expected to start deliberating either late Tuesday or early Wednesday.
A man convicted of inflicting grievous bodily harm on his wife with an axe in March last year is appealing his 7-year sentence. The court hearing today, William Henry Richardson has been refused legal aid. The 40-year-old has previously said he was upset his wife had taken his children away from him. Meanwhile, a Tasmanian man will spend the next 20 months behind bars after today being convicted of drug-related offences. Brett Andrew Imlach faced Hobart's Supreme Court this morning over charges of using and selling methamphetamine and ecstasy. Justice Alan Blow told the court the father of 3 had previously been in trouble with the law over similar charges and has a problem with using cannabis. Mr Imlach is eligible for parole after 10 months. An underwater vehicle which will be used to help better understand Antarctica has been unveiled at the Australian Maritime College. Custom built by an international submarine engineering company, the device will dive to depths of up to 5,000 metres.
It's green, almost 7 metres in length, weighs 1.5 tonnes and is described as having a mind of its own in the form of a computer.
Like there is on a cruise missile. In fact, it's exactly the same technology. We programmed the vehicle to do a mission, so we actually design a mission in vehicle language.
Officially unveiled today, the autonomous underwater vehicle has already completed several successful missions.
We've been up in Beauty Point in the Tamar. We're hoping to do some work in the Bass Strait the next few weeks, as well as maybe South Coast Storm Bay, South Coast Tasmania. So basically working on deeper and further and longer missions to get the competency of the team up, to get our experience up.
It operates using motion sensors and when on the surface uses GPS to determine its position. Once down below, it operates using beam-like systems capturing what is both above and below it.
Then penetrate the sediment layers, see various thicknesses. It'll have magnetometer on board to give you the magnetic field. It'll also have multispectral cameras, so it'll be able to take pictures of sea ice crystals, underneath ice shelves, and what the seafloor looks like.
That data will then be studied and collated to better understand Antarctica.
Palawakani, the language of Tasmanian Aborigines, has been used to name this underwater vehicle, Napiri Muka, which means Eye of the Sea.
Hearing the description of where the name came from and the true meaning of it, it's just absolutely fantastic. We could not have picked a better way of naming, a more fitting name for this vehicle.
Jessie Gilmore, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanians have paused in their hundreds to remember the service and sacrifice made by troops in the Vietnam War. The battle was the longest conflict in Australian history from 1962 to 1975 and involved more than 60,000 troops. 521 paid the ultimate price, with a further 3,000 wounded. Tasmania contributed 1,800 soldiers and 17 died in the service of their country.
And I just want to close by saying that
remember a lot of friends that came back in metal boxes, and a lot of friends that came back mentally disturbed and wounded.
In Smithton, singer Patricia Thompson, better known as Little Patty, was the guest speaker and shared her experience of performing during the war. She was on stage at the Australian base the night of the battle. Tasmanian teenagers are being urged to take up free vaccinations at their schools and doctors to fight against the deadly strain of meningococcal W. 15 to 19-year-olds are the most susceptible to the disease, which starts with flu-like symptoms and a rash and can be fatal.
Because teenagers are the group that's got the highest level of carriage of these germs in their throat, by preventing them getting infected, it'll also, we hope, provide some indirect protection to the wider population.
9 people have suffered from the highly infectious illness over the past 2 years, compared with 6 in the 10 years before. The vaccination protects against 4 different strains. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The share market has closed lower after increased political uncertainty in the US sparked a sharp sell-off on Wall Street and soured global risk appetite. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 32.1 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 78.88 US cents and 108.17 New Zealand cents.
He's arguably the best player in TSL history, with an incredible and unparalleled list of accolades to his name. Tomorrow, Glenorchy forward Jay Bowden will add yet another achievement to that list when he takes to the field for his 200th game.
When it comes to TSL football, there's no bigger name than Jay Bowden.
His off-field stuff that he does around our club is tremendous, and for 200 games, it's another record, another thing that's got to go on his locker. And he's definitely one of the most decorated, if not the decorated player at Glenorchy.
445 goals, 3 premierships, 2 Peter Hudson medals, 5-time club best and fairest, and 3-time Alistair Lynch medalist. Tomorrow, Bowden adds 200 gamer to that list when the Pies take on the Tigers at the Twin Ovals.
Probably a bit old, yeah. No, I said, like the other day, I said, you know, you're probably 18 and then all of a sudden you're 28 and you've been here 10 years and it goes pretty quick.
Considered by some as simply too good for TSL football, Bowden says he has no regrets about not trying his luck at the higher level.
As I got a bit older, I suppose the need or the having to go away sort of didn't appeal as much, and I was pretty happy doing what I was doing.
Having already earned life membership at Glenorchy, chances are the gold magnet will return to the Pies next year.
I'm probably going to head away for a little bit and travel a little bit, but for playing TSL, I won't be anywhere else.
Another of the game's stalwarts set for a milestone this weekend, Clarence journeyman Brady Jones, who made the switch from first grade cricket to TSL football in 2012 and will play game number 100 against Lauderdale at Blunston Arena tomorrow.
It took me a little while to get there. Obviously started a little bit later, so most of the blokes my age at the club have played 150 or getting close to 200, and I'm with the younger blokes down there just notching up my 100th.
New Hobart Hurricanes General Manager Phil Rigby says he'll be working to make the sporting organisation one of the most well-respected in the country. Rigby was officially welcomed into the role today following administration experience with the Brisbane Lions and Cricket Queensland.
We're taking a game to Launceston this year, which is going to be huge.
Cricket Tasmania CEO Nick Cummins says the Hurricanes' 2017-2018 list is almost finalised, with some exciting player announcements to come, including 2 new international signings.
With Hurricanes has been defending a score rather than making a score, which may give you a hint as to where we've looked from our international players' perspective.
The Big Bash League season begins on December 19. Tornado star Lauren Nicholson says the side is finally putting it all together following their gutsy come-from-behind win over the Chargers. The side travelled to Dandenong this weekend for its do-or-die conference finals clash with the Rangers.
Proving herself a true leader for the Tawns, Nicholson comes off a heroic 32-point effort last weekend against the Chargers, with the side keeping their Siebel Championship dream alive with a thrilling 4-point win.
I think that was our best performance of the year, and it felt like it did click better on the weekend. Every group at some stage in the season puts it all together, and I think that's finally happened for us.
Now playing in their 3rd final series in a row, the Tawns travel to Dandenong tomorrow ahead of Sunday's clash with the Rangers.
I've had a couple of close battles against them this season, so it's a good matchup and I'm really looking forward to it.
A win will see the Tawns take on Bendigo the following weekend for the South Conference title. To soccer, and a stellar season in defence for the Zebras has seen Nicholas Groenwald claim the first piece of individual silverware for the year, with the import awarded the Walter Pless Award for Best Player of the NPL season, as voted on by the media. Groenwald beating out Olympia striker Jacob Sklenar by just 1 vote.
A lot of the times, as you said, the accolades go to the goal scorers, but again, that's out of my control. Week in and week out, just continue to put in the same effort, put in the same work ethic, intensity, and kind of let the pieces fall in place.
Good evening. Hobart 9 today, Launceston and Devonport 13, Burnie a top of 12. The top today was 14 at St Helens, with the cold southerlies bringing showers and also keeping the temperatures down over the west, south and southeast. Temperatures up to 5 below average. Lyawini the low with -4, Flinders Island and Low Head 13 today. Wynyard and Friendly Beaches 12, Bushy Park and King Island 11, Strawn 9, Grove 8, Lyawini a top of 2. There is speckled cloud linked to that cold air mass extending from the Bight to over the southeast of the mainland. There is a front spearing off that as it moves over Victoria and Tasmania. A trough extends over northern Queensland, another frontal band near WA. And there's the close-up with that cold air right over the state at the moment. Tomorrow the high moves over Adelaide, extending a ridge our way. The cold front is there over WA with a trough inland. The wind south-southwesterly at 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots at times over the east. Swells at 4 metres in western and southern waters. Strong wind warning for the east. From Flinders Island to Tasman Island, a road weather alert for early morning ice on the roads. Saturday for Hobart, partly cloudy, 11 after 2 this evening, -2 for Maydena, 8 tomorrow and 8 for Oatlands after -3. Launceston, a morning frost, a partly cloudy 12 after a cold night. Look at that, 12 degrees for Devonport as well and 3 degrees for Lyawini after an expectant -8 tonight. For Burnie, partly cloudy 12, 11 the top for Strawn and Marrawar with showers, and for eastern regions, sunny for St Helens and 13, but early showers clearing from Swansea and Orford. On Sunday, showers over the west and far south, falling in snow to 900 metres, showers over the north and west on Monday, and on Tuesday, showers extending right across the state during the afternoon and evening. A few showers and a possible storm for Perth tomorrow, cloudy in Adelaide, showers clearing from Melbourne, a frost for Canberrans tomorrow, fine for other centres, with windy conditions prevailing over Sydney and Brisbane. A few showers at the moment and cooling right down. 5 degrees in Hobart, clear in Launceston, just 4 and 7 right now in Devonport. That's the weather for the week, Joe. I know you finished the week off well, winning the leg of lamb at our happy hour bingo tonight. What time's dinner?
You're not invited. Your wife can come though, I like her. Thank you very much, Murph. And that's all from the news team for now. Have a great evening. I'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye-bye.